Hi, today I'm going to be talking about my language learning goals, and you might be saying to yourself, based on when this will be edited and uploaded, Shay, isn't it February? Don't worry about it, it's fine. So, I have 3 languages that I'm working on this year, 2 that I'm properly working on, and 1 that I'm just dabbling in with my sister and my cousin, and I don't really expect it to go very far, but if we're really enjoying it, maybe we'll do more with it. I also know a number of people who speak that language, which I will touch on, but I'm being coy about, speak it natively, so maybe I'll discover that I have lots of use for it. But for now, the 2 main languages that I'm studying are the languages that I have been studying here. At least one of them I know you know about if you've seen anything else on this channel, because one of them is Korean, and I previously did some videos on learning Korean, or rather updating, improving my Korean, and I didn't finish uploading those videos. I did record everything, I just never liked the way that my thoughts were coming out, so the things didn't go up. And the second language is Farsi or Persian, depending on who you ask, and for that language, I don't actually know if you know that. Along with the Korean videos that I made, I actually made a whole bunch of videos in the last year and a half, and I really wasn't feeling it. And I think I've identified why that is, and I think moving forward, I have a better, clearer idea of what I want from language learning and of what is effective for me, so I feel better about putting out videos now, but forgive me if it sounds like I'm talking about something and I think you should know, and you don't know. It's because I have made that video and I just didn't upload it. Really, most of my goals this year are fluid, and I'm not very committed to them, which sounds silly in a language goals video, but I really want to see how the year plays out, because obviously if we have learned anything, it's that things do not necessarily play out the way that you expect them to. So I'm going to try to check in. I know lots of people do like a quarterly check-in, and I kind of like that idea. So this is going to be a little bit broad, and then hopefully at the end of the first quarter check-in, I will have a clearer idea of what I can do, what I can fit into the time frame that I've got, what I like doing versus what I'm not loving, and that can evolve as we go along. So the main things that I have down here for all of the languages is that I want to read. And I've really honed in on that I enjoy reading, that I get a lot out of it, that I retain things better. I think that that's really going to be the crux of what I'm doing this year. So for Korean, I have read 6 books, and I did mean to grab a bunch of those books so I could show you, and then I didn't grab any of them. So I will edit in here. At the end, I'll come back with all of the books. I have a blanket on my chair. But for now, read 6 books. And now I will talk about those books. Okay, so for Korean, I have 6 books that I want to read, and I have 4 of them here. The first one is Korean Stories for Language Learners. I am already a chunk of the way through this. I am maybe just under a third of the way through, and so I should be done pretty soon. I did start this, I think, in 2021. I don't think I started it in 2020. I got it for Christmas 2020, and it's fine. Yeah, I maybe will eventually do a whole review of it. I don't love the individual story setup as much as I like this one, which is my next one to talk about, where you have multiple chapters, but that sort of just is what it is, and that doesn't make it bad, it just makes it different. So these are a whole bunch of different individual stories, and then this one is the next one that I want to do. And I am similarly about a third of the way through. This one I definitely did start reading in 2020, and I was enjoying it, and I just sort of put it down. I really put down all language learning stuff. So this one I'm just enjoying having little bits to read if I have, 15 minutes or whatever. It's nice for that, but this one I actually was enjoying, and this one is Short Stories in Korean for Intermediate Learners by Ollie Richards. This one is by Tuttle, and this one is by Teach Yourself. And this one I was really enjoying as just a more extensive reading experience. So those two I should be able to sort of bang out early on because I have already gotten a chunk of the way through, and so that'll be good. And then this one I have not started at all, but it's the third one that I've got, and this is also for language learners. This is Essential Korean Reader, and this one is more a little bit more like a textbook. It is a reader, so you've got reading passages, but it's then got sections with writing practice and stuff like that that I probably won't engage with at least the first time I go through. I really just want to read the articles, and it seems like it's mostly made up of articles about Korean culture and Korean culture versus sort of Western / North American culture. I'm not going to go on and on, but this one is folk stories, traditional Korean folk tales, which I think is good to have a knowledge of. This one is basically completely divorced from Korean culture. So I know some of the stories have been adapted to be set in Korea, but they're not really about Korea. They, I think in other versions of the book, are set in other countries, but they're the same story depending on the language that you are doing. And then this one is nonfiction articles about culture. So I think that that's a good sort of breadth of different types of material. And then I think the fourth one on my list is this one. So it's a little manga about a woman who desperately needs help organizing her life, and Marie Kondo shows up and helps her out. I've read maybe the first 10 pages of this, so not very far into it, but it seems very accessible. It's just a different style than I'm used to reading, so I think that that'll be fun and very doable. And that's 4 of them. And then the other 2, one of them I have also started reading. So partially this is stuff I want to read this year, partially apparently it's clearing off my unfinished books list. And that is 참 좋은 친구를 만났습니다, which is a children's book. I met a very good friend, and I am not that far into that one. I had started reading it as part of a little book club, and I just didn't have the time to keep up with it. So that one I will probably finish. I was enjoying it well enough. It was a bit challenging, but I think that that's something I can power through, especially if I have kind of built the confidence of a number of other books already. And then I cannot for the life of me remember what the last book on my list is, but I think that's fine because that'll be much later in the year, and I can worry about that when I get to later in the year. I very well may have come upon a book that I want to read more at that point. So 6 books, and now we'll do the rest of the list. We'll edit this bit in. You keep going with Korean, Shay. I'll be back. So read 6 books, and then I also have use link ? Because I don't have clearly defined goals for how I want to use link, what I want to actually study using link, but I do like link as a platform. So I further down my list have the Talk to Me in Korean 이야기 lessons, like episodes, not so much lessons, and I have transcripts for a whole bunch of those because I had Talk to Me in Korean Premium, the paid version, last year. I also accidentally did that again this year. I was gonna take a year off and then start back up, and then I just didn't cancel it in time, but that's fine. I think that it's a great company. I think Talk to Me in Korean is a great company, and I'm happy to support what they do. So there you go. I have access to a bunch of their stuff as well, so I don't have them really on my list as using a bunch of their lessons, but I probably will drop in and out of different lessons that I have as I go through the year. That's neither here nor there now. We're talking about using 이야기 and using link. So the 이야기 lessons, if you don't know, are conversations between 2, usually, I don't think there are usually 3 people, 2 speakers on a topic, and I have the transcripts for them, and then there's audio, obviously, it's a dialogue, and I think I should be able to put those into link. I think I have them as PDFs, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to, but if I can put those into link, that would be really great to go through them on the link platform. I think that that will complement they will complement each other really well. So that's what I've got. 6 books, use link, ? Yagi, and then I have just a number sign and a question mark because I don't know how many I want to do. I'd like to do a ton of them this year, but I'm gonna see how the pacing is working as I go throughout the year before I put a number goal on it. So again, probably something to check in with at the end of that first quarter. And then I have 12 italki lessons, also with a question mark, because I don't know. I've enjoyed the italki lessons that I've done, but I don't feel like I necessarily am getting what I need out of them in terms of language learning. They're a bit of a confidence boost, which in and of itself is worth something. But I think what would be beneficial with italki lessons would probably be some sort of discussion of the books that I'm reading. Actually, I think either the books or the italki lessons that I'm going through. So maybe if I could send in advance the italki episode or, a little blurb about what it is that I read, and then we could discuss it. Because obviously I wouldn't be asking a teacher to read the book that I was reading, but to be able to do a little bit of that would probably be maybe more effective than just trying to talk about my daily life, especially because I'm working from home now. I have been for approaching 2 years. So I don't have a lot to talk about on a daily basis other than things like what I'm reading. So that might be a good way to use those lessons. But anyway, as you can see, my goals are a little bit vague, right? I want to read 6 books. That's, I think, 1 every 2 months, very reasonable. And it's also a minimum. If I'm enjoying, then I'm going to do more. Although I've been enjoying reading more in English in the last little while, and I don't want to make it feel like a chore by making it always be a study sort of situation when I'm reading. But other than read 6 books and 12 italki lessons, but a question mark, I don't have clearly defined number goals. I have ideas of what I want to engage with, and I think that that's probably enough as a starting point. So, moving along to Farsi/Persian, and the reason I say it that way is because most of the native speakers that I know call it Persian when they're speaking English. Obviously, within the language itself, it's called Farsi. So I treat it sort of the same way that I treat Dutch. Right? Dutch people say Netherlands, and English speakers say Dutch. It's okay that they're different words. So I do know that some Persian speakers feel strongly that it should be Farsi when you're speaking English, and some feel strongly that it should be Persian. I'm gonna try to go back and forth when I say them on here, but frankly, in my daily life, I say Persian, and my boyfriend, who is a native speaker, says Persian. And that's, if I have not explained this before in a video you've seen, why I'm learning Persian, because my boyfriend is a native speaker, and I know lots of Persian speakers, Farsi speakers, and I want to be able to engage with them more. So that is a very brief overview. And so what my goals are. Last year, I did a little bit of intensive study of Persian because my boyfriend's parents were coming from Iran, and so I finished almost all of the 2 levels of Pimsleur. I wouldn't mind going back over those, but that's not a high goal on my list, just something I thought I would acknowledge. On here, I have read 4 books. So I will do the same thing that I did for Korean, and I will leave a little space here so that I can talk about those books. Okay, so for Persian books, I have 4 on my list, and the first one is Easy Persian Reader. I have started this one, as with most of the Korean ones. I haven't actually gotten that far into it though. There are maybe 10 chapters. Maybe I've read 4. So actually I'm pretty far into it. I'm liking this one. It's been good. I have a lot more to say about all of them, but I will leave that to a later video. The next one is Ruzi Ruzgari, and that one I also would appreciate if we ignored my pronunciation in Persian for now. That'd be great, thank you. And this one is a bunch of folk tales. So this one actually is a story of a couple of different people, and they intertwine and they know each other, and it's a bit more connected. I believe this one is just separate folk tales. And I've read the very first one, and it's definitely above my level, but anything would be above my level right now because my level's not very high. So I think this should be doable after I do the Persian reader. And as you can see from this, the same with that Marie Kondo book, which is that direction because it was originally Japanese. Persian books also go the opposite way that you might be used to. So depending on if this video is mirrored, that would make things much more complicated, but it shouldn't be. So I have this one, and then the third one, this here, is Stories of Me and My Father, is how I've translated it. And it is a bunch of individual comics. This was originally, I believe, a German comic. And it's a bunch of little comics and then a little written passage about the comic. And they are all about the same characters, this boy and his father, but they're not connected to each other in any sort of order, as far as I know. I've read one or two of these. I've read one, and my boyfriend has read a couple of them to me. And I like them. They're sweet. And so I'm actually looking forward to getting around to this one. I might switch the order of these. This one is actually made for learners a little bit more because you can see there are underlined words. Maybe you can't see that. There are underlined words and then a glossary at the end of each chapter. So I think this one is more geared toward learners, where this one is actually more geared toward families and children, which is why I put it a little bit later down the list. But I'm actually a little bit more excited for this one. So I have those, and then the last one is going to be, I think, just Persian Reader 1 is what it's called. It's by Reza Nazari. I don't own it presently, but I'm going to buy it. Although a bunch of it is available on his website. I think I'm going to put it on the screen because I'm very sorry, but I don't actually remember what it's called. It might be Learn Persian Online, something like that. And a bunch of those reading passages are available on the website, but I do think that he makes great content, so I will probably buy the book. I also like having physical books. So I also might buy it as an ebook, though. So that is the 4 that I have lined up for Persian. And that's what I got. Okay. Feel free to continue the video. Shay. And we're back. So, read 4 books. This is going to seem weird when I edit it. Read 4 books, and then I have also use link, ? I have a little bit more of a focused idea of what I want to do on link for Persian, and that's because I'm more of a beginner, so they have a bit more clearly laid out. I had been going through their I don't remember what they're called. This sort of initial, I think they're mini stories. I had been going through those, and then they added at some point last year the mini stories in spoken Persian. So I had been going through them the way they were originally, which I believe was in written, and I'd like to go through both. I don't know if I'm going to go through all of them. I don't have that number written down, but I think going through the mini stories and the who is she, sort of those early building block lessons that they have on link would be good. I don't, like I said, have clear numbers on how many I want to do or anything like that. Yes, I don't know what point I'm trying to get to. But another thing that I can use link for, similarly to the Korean Iyagi lessons, is Persian Language Online, which is a website that I really recommend. I'm going to make a separate video about all of these resources at some point. I already have, and I didn't love how it came out, so I'm going to make a new one at some point if you are interested in Persian learning resources. Persian Language Online has little dialogues and little written passages that have audio. So I think I've already converted some of them over to link, and I think I'll probably do the rest of them. And that'll just be a good way to go through them. There's no issue going through them on the website. I just kind of like having things in one place if I can. And I think, as I said before, link is a good platform. And then the only other thing I have on here is 6 conversations by the end of the year. I don't have this as italki lessons because in my daily life here, I know a good number of Persian speakers. including my boyfriend, who I keep pointing there. He's not in the wall, he's in the room behind me. But I have many opportunities to have just little conversations, and I'm going to sort of vaguely define a conversation as at least 5 whole minutes of only Persian, maybe with the occasional filling in the blank with a word for me. So that is that. And that is all that I had for Persian. Farsi. And then the last language, the one that I'm just dabbling in with my sister and my cousin, is Spanish. And I studied Spanish very briefly when I was in university, and I did not grasp it at all. I was absolutely not approaching language in the way that I would now. I was kind of just going to class, being in class, doing what they asked me, and then going home and not touching it. So I don't really have a foundation in Spanish, but I am just sort of casually doing Duolingo, and I also have to at some point upload my 1,000 days of Duolingo Korean, because I did that. I finished that last year, and I filmed it, and I may as well upload it, right? So I will do that at some point if anybody's interested in seeing that and my thoughts. Or if you're not interested, I probably will post it anyway. And then the other part of Spanish that I have that I am more excited for sure, is going through Dreaming Spanish, which is a YouTube channel here on YouTube, obviously. And they do fantastic comprehensible input content there. So I want to go through all of their super beginner lessons. I think there are maybe 150. I've gone through maybe 18 of them already. They're very pleasant. They go quite quickly. They don't feel like work. So I'd like to do that, and then maybe even get into their beginner content a little bit. And that's basically it. I know that as soon as I'm done, I will absolutely come up with more things that I meant to say, but this is what's going in the video. So I am going to run and grab those books. Grab those books. Oh my goodness, before my voice gives out, I'm going to run and grab those books and film little bits that I'm gonna edit into the middle. And in the meantime, you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you when I check in. And I guess we'll do a call to action. Let me know what you're studying, because that would be cool. I genuinely, though, I would like to know what it is that you're studying this year, or learning this year, or improving this year, how you're going about it, what you think of any of the things that I'm using, and if you have suggestions, let me know, because I'm not just putting this out here to hear myself talk. I don't intend to watch this back after I upload it, right? So this is up here for dialogue and community, and it would be actually pretty cool to hear what you're doing.